Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Sales Chalk Talk Show brought to you by Redcap Sales Coaching. I'm Hugh Little, your head sales wizard at Redcap Sales Coaching and Elite Sales Academy, where you can learn to make selling easy, fun, and profitable. If you're a chiropractor or run any kind of a service oriented business, you can learn how to serve more people and dramatically increase your conversion ratio, sales, and revenue. Stay tuned and you'll find out how you can take the first step to get started growing your business into the successful enterprise you really want it to be. I'm broadcasting today from Sebring, the very best part of Central Florida. My awesome co host, Gene McNaughton, is in the studio today. He's the president of GeoBear USA, America's newest premier ground engineering company. GeoBear helps customers improve the ground they live and work on. In his prior life, Gene ran a successful business growth consulting firm, having consulted more than 159 companies over 12 years. He's worked with brands such as T-Mobile, Panasonic, Targus, and one of the top 15 accounting firms in the United States, just to name a few. Today, Gene is aggressively building the U.S. branch of a global firm, GeoBear Global, building the U.S. location from scratch. He's the author of a tremendous book titled The Sales Edge. You can read a free chapter at thesalesedge.co, and the book is available at amazon.com. Hey, Gene, how's everything going out there at GeoBear?
Well, summer is hot. Business is hot. We are good fortune recipients of droughts. When droughts happen, our business picks up. When giant rainstorms happen, our business picks up. And, I've kind of documented my journey in building this company out of Europe into the United States. And, if you look back at the past show notes, for those of you fans that have listened to all the podcasts, we had an issue with delivery. We got that solved. We had an issue with sales process. We got that solved. We had an issue with too many leads and not enough bodies. We got that solved. Now we have a giant shift in the economy. We have a giant shift in our political landscape. Prices and expenses and inflation have occurred, and there are fewer buyers in the marketplace for what it is we do. So we're in the process of figuring out how do we respond to the shift. And we've been in that process for a while so that we can get all of the prongs of business. For you business leaders out there, you know as well as I do, it's how do you get seen? How do you get recognized, whether it's pay-per-click or whatever you're doing in your local and national marketplace, to get people to take an action that says, I'm going to raise my hand because I need help with what it is you do and what problems you solve. And once you get them there, then it's, do you have a well laid out, bulletproof sales process that's highly educational, that's based on great questions in the right order, that educates people along the way and moves them into easily saying yes to you and clearly understanding the difference your company makes as compared to everybody else. And then it's saying, can you profitably deliver what it is you have? And lastly, it's saying, managing the money. Can you get the money in and manage it appropriately? So with all those things going on, I'm excited about today's podcast because we have an entrepreneur, which, to me means entrepreneur, small, medium business expert. And I'm looking forward to talking to Pete for a variety of reasons, not just to help all of you, but to help myself.
Hey, you're invited to continue making Sales Chalk Talk a part of your learning in 2022 and beyond. Every week, you'll be able to get inside the heads of some of the most brilliant people in the areas of sales, marketing, leadership, business, and success. You can listen to all the past and future Chalk Talks at redcapsalescoaching.com/podcast. Or you can listen on iTunes, and we're just about everywhere else you can listen to podcasts too. On upcoming shows, we'll have a great lineup of guests coming up for you here on Chalk Talk. So stay tuned and learn more and more about how to build your business and your sales. Today, we're most honored to have business coach Pete Mohr on the show with us. Let me tell you a little bit about Pete. He helps entrepreneurs transform their frustrations into freedoms by using a variety of frameworks that help them cut through the chaos and overwhelm of running a business. With over 25 years as a business owner, he's refined many of his tips, tools, and techniques in the trenches with his own business. Pete started coaching others in business because of his belief that you own your business, it shouldn't own you. He says it's time to start using frameworks that allow you to have a turnkey business so that you can live the life you deserve. Pete's website is simplifyingentrpreneurship.com, and I'll tell you what's available to you there just a little later in the show. I think you can tell you're in for another fun, fascinating half hour. So sit down, buckle up, and hold on, folks, because here we go. Hey, Pete, welcome to Chalk Talk.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate being back on the podcast.
Well, folks, Pete was on in April, and you can find that first podcast on April 8th. And we talked about the 5 Ps and really, really great stuff. And so if you haven't listened to that podcast yet, go back and listen to it. And this podcast is going to build on top of that one. So, Pete, we are going to talk about leadership. And to begin with, Gene is a super busy guy. I'm a super busy guy. I know that you are as well. Ever since Michael Gerber wrote his great book, The E-Myth Revisited, and he said that we should spend more time working on our businesses than in our businesses, that phrase has become one of the most familiar business phrases ever. Now, the reality seems to be that it's way easier said than done. So tell us how we can actually do that, work more on our businesses than in them.
You know, Hugh, I think it's an interesting thing, really. And if you go back to that 5P framework, we talked a little bit about there, but it's got to do with how you look at your business as a leader in your business. And, you know, when I see it, I mean, most of the people I work with have been at it a while. They have a team now and that sort of stuff. When you're in that startup phase, there's no way out of it. You just have to put in your time. You have to kind of get through all that stuff. You have to be pounding through things as you're building and all that sort of stuff. But once you kind of crest over that, and that timeline is different for every and some of that stuff, and you can start assigning accountabilities and aligning some of your people around that, then you deserve some time to work on your business, and you owe it to yourself. And by the way, you owe it to your team, you owe it to your clients, and you owe it to everybody else to be working on your business too, because it's only through that your business is going to continue to grow. Your promise, which was that first P that we talked about, you know, and really, if you as the leader don't give yourself time to work on your, you're changing everybody in that sphere of influence around your business.
Great Chet Holmes always used to say, tactical executives work in the business, people that dominate work on the business. Are you familiar with Chet Holmes?
I'm not. I'm not, Gene. I'll look that one up, because I mean, I look at it in this same sort of framework around the difference between managing and leading, right? So you have your people that are awesome managers, and then, but how do you take it from management to leadership? And some of this stuff is that idea, really.
It's so important to talk about. Now, you've developed something you call the leadership expander model. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, it's a new one for me. I'm always thinking, and like most entrepreneurs, you've got ideas and they're popping out, and you know, I write everything down, and I love models. So this is what I call a heart model. And if you can picture 3 circles intersecting in the middle, you know, and you have this idea where you, the leader, are in the very heart of this heart looking model, and the 2 circles up top, the 1 circle down below in the center. And from that perspective, you're at the very heart. And what happens around you is that as you move into this leadership position, you need to surround yourself with a bunch of different things. And we can talk about some of those, but essentially the idea is that you're surrounding yourself closest, your own stuff, with clarity, credibility, and capability, so that you can really have set up your process, accountability, and communication within your business, because those 6 things together really combine to form leadership. And when we look at it, all starts with clarity, because clarity creates confidence, and confidence ignites momentum. So when you have the clarity of what it is, that first P, when we talked in the last one, is your promise, you know, the clarity of the promise for the thing off. And when we look at that other ring around communicating the promise, communicating how you owe it to your team to be the best communicator you possibly can be for your team and your clients and your suppliers, because when you communicate with clarity, everybody around you knows what's going on, and that's the start. But in order to do that, you also need a bit of credibility, right? You need the trust factor and all that stuff, because if you're not believable, then nobody's going to follow, and or nobody's going to actually listen to what it is you have to say. So that it all kind of starts from that leadership portion with that community circle and having the clarity and the credibility of communication within the people framework, which are your suppliers, your ideal customers, and all of your wholesalers and your team, everybody that's wrapping around your business, all of the sphere of influence of people. You need to be the best communicator in your business as a leader.
So strong. That is so strong. Now, you've also said that there are differences between managing and leading.
Yeah.
What are some of those?
Yeah. Well, I mean, lots of different things. I look at, the other two portions of the circles, right? It's the CAP model. So communication, accountability, and process. When I look at those other two, so I think the leader spends most of their time in communication, and managers and other people that are sort of in your task process are around this idea of process and accountability, where process and accountability portions for the leader typically are more of a dashboardy type thing, as opposed to where you're spending all of your time, right? So if you're managing the business, you're spending your time making those small decisions. And my feeling really is that you should be leaving other people to make the small decisions. And how do you do that? Well, you set up the right process with the clarity of your communication and the right capabilities of your team members to assign the accountability to those team members. And you can kind of see how this all flows together, and it all flows together with the 5 Ps, so that you're really understanding this stuff. So you have a set of managers. And then when you move yourself out of like we talked about at the beginning, I mean, when you're small, you've got to do everything. That's fine. But this is when you're starting to expand out your team, and you have an accountability chart as opposed to an organizational chart. And I like that from Gino Wickman. That's where I learned it, from his book called Traction years ago. And I just really took to that. And it's like, it's not just an organizational chart with somebody's name on it. They actually have and are given the accountable. They are account able. So they need to have that capability piece, right? They actually have to have the capability piece in order to be account able. And, so that's where this sort of blends in as far as the managerial roles, right? And then when you're moving from a manager up to the leader of that, you're getting out of more of those task-oriented process stuff, and you're more accountable for the bigger scope things. And that's when you're working a little bit more on your business and a little bit less in it. And you're allowing other people underneath you on the accountability chart to actually make the decisions at the lowest possible level of the business. Because when decisions are being made at the lowest possible level of the business, everyone gets their decision quicker. Your customers happier, your suppliers happier. Everybody can be answered with full acknowledgement and understanding of the promise and your process, and everything is just wrapped around it. So does it take a while to set this stuff up? You're darn right it does. But if you don't start on doing this stuff and setting up some of the small processes and setting up some of the small accountabilities and communicating with ultimate clarity and credibility, then it never happens. So when do you start? You start today with something small, the low-hanging fruit idea.
We all want low-hanging fruit. Hey, what about this? Moving from management to leadership. And I've made that move, and I've probably made most of the mistakes you're about to talk about, but let's share this with the group for those that are in the process.
Yeah. I mean, we've had all sorts of different ones, but a lot of them really revolve around communication, and where you're assuming is just such a terrible word. I do it all the time. We all do. But the less you assume, the better it is. When you have clear set of structure, when you have that clarity, everybody knows the breakdown of the word assume is make an ass of you and me. So from that perspective, you don't want to go into moving from management into more of a leadership position, assuming that things are just going to happen. And you need to set out that direction, and you need to have that full clarity, because it's only through that and through that communication portion of this model that you're actually going to have anybody be able to follow you. And I mean, the idea of being a leader is that you're going to have people follow you because they want to be a part of the promise. They want to be a part of your team. They want to be a part of what you deliver to your clients. And they see their future there because, we say it all the time on the sales floor. This, by the way, this is, sales talk, right? And we're here talking about sales, but from a sales perspective, we're also selling our team members, right? And we're selling them on the fact that, they want to live a better life too, because everybody puts their money down on the idea that if I can show you the way from your problem through our solutions to a better life, I will put my money down. Well, you're asking them to put their time down to work for you. So they need to see that too. They need to see, listen, I've got a problem, and that's, I got to work and I got to do some stuff. I really want to enjoy what I do. And I really want to be involved and be accountable, because most people actually want accountability if they align with all of these things we've been talking about. They don't want to shove it off. They actually want to be part of the decisions. They want to be part of the team. They want to be part of the promise. And when you have those kind of people, you have loyalty. So, it's really an interesting thing. Not only loyal customers, loyal teammates, loyal suppliers, things happen, they come together. And that's why this is all sort of placed into a heart model, because it all sort of packs down into the middle of being you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, and what do you want out of your business? Because when you have some of these things wrapping this way, then you can actually live the life that you want to lead, because everything's in alignment and you can actually start making some profit. And it's only until we make some profit, then we can start, choosing what to do with it.
Folks, we'll be right back with our very special guest, business coach Pete Mohr, and talk more about how you can be a more effective, successful business owner. We want to urge you to visit Pete's website at simplifyingentrpreneurship.com. First off, you'll find a ton of great blogs, and you can tune into Pete's Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast. You can take advantage of a great new tool Pete has created. It's called My Business Report. It provides an assessment that lets you diagnose what's going wrong in your business and offers a customized plan to fix it. After you take the assessment, you have a number of options available to you to improve your business and make life easier. You can enroll in a membership to Business Made Simple University, where you'll have access to hours of online courses covering topics that include mission statement, marketing, messaging, productivity, life planning, and goal setting, and more. You can gain access to Pete's entrepreneurial toolbox that includes forms, systems, apps, and tools specifically designed to simplify the decisions and operations of your company and advance your life. And finally, there's customized live coaching with Pete. You have the option of various packages, from group-based to private one-to-one meetings. Pete's candid approach and questioning enables you to isolate the issues and push through the procrastination. You can schedule a 30-minute freedom call with Pete to clear up some of your frustrations as a leader at speaktopete.com. That's speaktopete.com. So check out Pete's website at simplifyingentrpreneurship.com right after the show. Or you can even pause the recording and check it out right now. I promise you'll be really glad you did. Now, if you leave to look at the website, be sure to come back and listen to the rest of the show, though, because Pete and Jean have some more great stuff for you. We're back with our very special guest, Coach Pete Mohr. Pete's website is simplifyingentrpreneurship.com.
What should leaders do when they feel a loss of momentum? And I want to caveat that, because I get that myself. We're super busy. The team members are out. We're grinding. Everybody's grinding, and it can how do you keep people inspired? And even to the point where maybe some momentum is getting lost. People are feeling like they're overworked and underpaid. I hope that's not the case, but what are some things they can be doing?
Well, what are some of the things they can do? Well, you know, I said with regards to sort of this particular model, the leadership expander, the number one thing you should be doing as a leader is communicating the promise. And a lot of times we get really, really busy. We assume that everybody knows what it is that we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. And in, whatever your meeting rhythm is with your leadership team, whether you meet daily or weekly or quarterly or whatever the case is, I've got whole structures on all of that too. But around your meeting rhythm, it should always be brought up. Why are we doing this? Like, this is the why. We're working incredibly hard. Everybody knows this is the busy season, but we need to keep in focus why this is happening. What's the purpose, so that we can help this happen. And if they're behind you, they don't mind working to that level. And if they're not behind you, that's when you start getting some of the frustrations and stuff like that, where they don't see their better future. So from the leadership perspective, if you're blowing through people all the time, you have to look at some of that stuff in alignment, but you also have to look at whether you truly are just overworking them and all of that sort of stuff, and whether you need to build out your accountability chart, bring more people on board, and assign process. And that's that process piece where you start looking for ways to do things in a better way, assigning accountabilities, looking for automations, trying to, as the leader, it's not necessarily at that point in time about you freeing up your time, it's about you freeing up their time. And that's the switch. It's like, listen, in our busiest time, I'm here to help you free up your time. So that's what, I suggest from a leadership perspective. When we own some shoe stores, and when we're super busy at the shoe stores and everybody's going crazy and it's a busy time of year, it's like I show up way more often so that I can free up my team to get their accountabilities done, instead of at the end of the week saying, why didn't you get this done? Because I know they're busy and my job as leader is to help them out. So I'm going to help them out in their time of busyness as much as I possibly can, by either, giving them my service or making sure somebody else is available to them to fulfill their needs and their accountability level, so that we can actually press through and make sure that things are happening, and we're going to make our week, quarter, year, and then on.
Hey, Pete, as a former shoe salesman, shoe jockey, I used to call myself, I applaud you as being a shoe store owner. It was one of my favorite jobs of all time when I was a younger guy. Was selling shoes, Alan Edmonds and boots and Tony Lamas, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a great business. I spend more of my time coaching other people with simplifying entrepreneurship now, but I love I love working with customers. And I was working in the stores on Saturday, helping out because it was a busy day. I mean, we had a big festival in town. It's like, I'm going to be at the store and I'm going to help my team because I know they're going to be overrun. So it's just great when the store is busy and you're humming and things are fun. It's great to be on the sales floor.
Oh, thank you so much for a great episode. And everybody, hey, if you want to talk to Pete, go to speaktopete.com, his website. There's a assessment on there. And Pete, I'm going to take that assessment before the end of the day today. So look for me to come through. Gene
Cool.
McNaughton at GeoBear.
Yep.
And
that sounds great. Thanks so much.
What's a better way? How do we do it faster, better, less expensive? How do we serve people at a higher level? Like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business leader, and you're not thinking that way, then there's a problem. The only way you will get to the best in your industry or the best in your area is to constantly be seeking the answers to the question, which is, how do we get even better? Maybe you're crushing it, but there's another level, right? Because things change, and I don't care what industry you're in. That's why you get third-party outside voices to take a look at your situation and give you a perspective. And if you like it, then you move forward and get their services. That's just bottom line fact. So Pete, great to meet you. I'll probably be doing an assessment call with you later in the week.
Thank you, sir. Looking forward to it.
You got it.
Well, Pete, it has been absolutely awesome having you back on Chalk Talk. And I know you've got a new book coming out pretty soon. And we definitely would love for you to come back and talk with us again at that point. I do have one more question for you before we let you go. It's one that I ask all of our guests on every show, and you've answered it once before. People tend to answer those questions differently every time if they're on more than one time. And it's based on one of my favorite books, The One Thing by Gary Keller of Keller Williams Real Estate. If you could give our listeners just one piece of advice that you consider to be the most important in gaining success in their businesses, their sales, their leadership, their relationships, their lives, what's the one thing, Pete?
You know, Hugh, I don't remember my last answer to that question, but I'll give you the one I'm thinking of today, which is often one that I strongly encourage, which is this. You know, there are only 24 hours in the day. You can't buy more and you can't use less. So start thinking about how you're using your time, how you're wasting your time, how you're enjoying your time. Set your business up to be more effective around those things. Enjoy your enjoyment time, work in your productivity time, and make less of that sort of gray time, and you'll have a better business and a better life for it.
Folks, here at Sales Chalk Talk, we believe in taking action. So check out Pete's website at simplifyingentrpreneurship.com. Check out the great blogs and Pete's Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast. Take the My Business Report assessment and find out what's really going on in your business. After you take the assessment, schedule a call with Pete to go over your assessment and determine which steps you want to take next. Enrollment in a membership to Business Made Simple University, the Entrepreneurial Toolbox, or the customized live coaching with Pete. Schedule your 30-minute freedom call with Pete at speaktopete.com. So don't procrastinate, do it now. Visit Pete's website right now at simplifyingentrpreneurship.com. I promise you'll be really glad you did. I also promise to give you some information about how to increase your business and sales. So here it is. If you'd like to start scaling your sales and revenue, you can get a free individualized sales roadmap from me. Just go to redcapsalescoaching.com and click a button on any page to schedule your free, valuable, no pressure session. You'll also find a ton of free information at redcapsalescoaching.com that will help you tremendously in increasing your sales. Read a free chapter of Gene's book at thesalesedge.co and get your copy of his awesome book, The Sales Edge, at amazon.com. Pete, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share all this great stuff with us and with our listeners. And do come back again sometime really soon.
Thanks so much. And thanks for allowing me to explore this leadership expander model. This is the worldwide release of the leadership expander model here today on Sales Chalk Talk.
That's awesome. Well, folks, that's about it for today's Sales Chalk Talk. We'll be back soon with another great Chalk Talk. We hope you'll join us then. Until then, make it fun and make it profitable. So long, Pete. So long, Gene. So long, everybody. And good selling.